Games are serious business. The influence of games cannot be overstated in our lives. It's said that there's around 3.09 billion active video game players worldwide. If we expand the category of games to include sports, this number climbs even higher. Soccer alone has 3.5 billion spectators, cricket has 2.5 billion, and all these other games have so much more. Games have been prevalent for a long time. One of the oldest recorded games in human history is Senet, dating back to 3100 BCE. So how have games become such a central part of our existence? In this video, I want to explore why games matter to us, drawing from the works of C.T. Nguyen, specifically in his book, Games, Agency as Art. I'll show how games offer something unique, which is an art form centered around agency, challenge, and mastery. Along the way, I'll share my personal experience with games and how they have helped me to understand these concepts. From video games, tennis, chess, and now, rock climbing. Let's first define games. Bernard Suits, a philosopher of play, famously defined games as the voluntary attempt to overcome unnecessary obstacles. When we look at the actions we take in games, it can seem preposterous outside that context. Why is it that we want to get a ball through a hoop? Why do we want to put both of our hands onto a brightly colored rock at the top of a wall? These goals definitely seem unnecessary outside the context of the game. One focuses on how games give us agency, the freedom to act, and make meaningful decisions in the constraints of the game. Let's look at rock climbing to illustrate this difference. The simple Seussian definition might focus on how climbers voluntarily scale a difficult route instead of walking around it. However, Nguyen would emphasize how climbing changes one's experience of agency. When we climb, we have to choose holds, balance risk and endurance, experiment with different ways of getting around the wall, all while our physical strength is being tested. Games as art. Nguyen describes games as a unique art form because they center on agency, setting them apart from traditional art forms like painting or film, which focus much on representation or aesthetics. While other philosophers see games as a type of fiction or interactive cinema, even as a form of social critique, Nguyen emphasizes that the uniqueness of games comes from their agency. Mundane actions like throwing a ball through a hoop or moving characters on a screen are turned into purposeful experiences. Unlike other forms of art, games give the pleasure of agency. A central part of why we love games is striving play, where it's not about winning in itself, but the struggle of getting there, and the effort we put in and the growth we experience along the way. Nguyen says, striving play involves a motivational inversion from ordinary life. In ordinary practical life, we pursue the means for the sake of the ends. But in striving play, we pursue the ends for the sake of the means. We take up a goal for the sake of the activity of struggling for it. A few weeks ago, I went to the Minneapolis Climbing Co-op. I faced an overhang climb that seemed impossible as a beginner. The route seemed to defy gravity, and it was difficult to even begin. However, each failure taught me something new: how to grip the holds, position my body, and manage my energy. This is the heart of striving play. I took up the goal of climbing this tough section of rock for the sake of struggling to get to the top. So this is also true across many other games. For me in chess, grinding down an opponent through calculated moves feels far more satisfying than winning because of a random blunder. In tennis, winning through an intense rally with an opponent is much more enjoyable than them double faulting, which is where they miss their serve twice so that play can't even begin. Yes, the outcome is the same. I'd win the game or the point, but the striving play isn't there. And this striving play is what makes our victory sweeter in the end. The aesthetics of games. Games are not all just about effort and agency. They offer us the value of aesthetic experiences. The beauty of games can be within the elegance of their mechanics, harmony of forms, and other things which can lead us to aesthetic pleasure. For example, rock climbing can be beautiful. A well-designed climb can feel like a work of art, where each hold is placed precisely for the climber to explore aspects of creativity. The act of climbing can then become an aesthetic experience, where the feeling of your body moving gracefully and every motion having a purpose can lend itself to a truly unique experience. I will admit, I am much more experienced in tennis than rock climbing. But in tennis, aesthetics are also central. There's nothing like hitting a perfect stroke and the ball cleanly coming off of your racket. Take a look at this one-handed backhand by Roger Federer. How much more aesthetic can you get? It just looks so clean how he hits the ball and just it's just too good. Or take a look at this forehand by one of my favorite players, Del Potro, or Nick Kyrios.
He's done it again. Talking about forehands. How can you hit that this hard? Oh, he's made that. That is incredible.
The sound, it makes it just different. The sound of satisfaction coming from bludgeoning the ball so hard that your opponent can't do anything. It's just unmatched satisfaction for me. Even chess has its own aesthetics. Pieces can align in a way that looks pleasing to the eye. For example, take a look at one of the best sequences within chess. In fact, this game was dubbed the immortal game after this whole sequence happened. So white checks the king, and then the king has to move, and then white sacrifices his queen, which is the most valuable piece within the game, in order to soundly defeat his opponent with a checkmate here. The pieces aesthetically line up to make sure that a win is secured for white. This white knight takes away this square from the black king, making it so he can't move this way. The black's own pieces are blocking his way of escape as well. And this knight is perfectly aligned to take away this spot, while this bishop here is here to deliver the finishing blow while being protected by this knight. Now, this is just a really good example of an aesthetic checkmate. And of course, video games are rich with aesthetic experiences. Think of the landscapes of The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. But beyond visuals, games give us the unique aesthetic of agency, the beauty of making meaningful choices, of deciding how to act within the game's world. The harmony of capacity. One of the most profound aspects of games is how they bring harmony between action and capacity. This harmony occurs when the challenge of a game aligns perfectly with the player's skill set, creating a kind of flow state where we're fully immersed in the activity. For instance, in rock climbing, each route is designed to test your mental and physical capacities. When climbing a route that sufficiently challenges you, you need to use everything within your capacity to get to the top. The demands of the task then balance with your maximum skill level, which is how we reach the harmony of capacity. The harmony of capacity can be exemplified in a game I love called Geometry Dash. No, it's not a game about learning geometry. That would be boring. Geometry Dash is a game where you try to reach the end of a level without dying. One death and you have to redo everything again. The game forces you to be focused when coming across a hard level. Each click can spell doom for you, which is why focus is required. It's very similar to rock climbing actually, where your final goal is to reach the end of the route or level without messing up. In Geometry Dash, your maximum skill level is put to the limit as you go through the level. In fact, I would say that it's once you do beat the level for the first time that your maximum skill and the challenge of the level are perfectly balanced, considering that your skill level has to go to the point where you are even able to beat it in the first place. There's nothing more exhilarating than beating your hardest level in Geometry Dash. It can lead to reactions like this. Nguyen highlights this interplay of action and capacity as central to the joy of games. It's not just about succeeding, it's about engaging in an activity that tests our limits, rewards our efforts, and gives us the chance to grow. Games aren't just distractions. They're a unique art form that allows us to strive, create, and immerse ourselves in challenges. Through agency, effort, and beauty, games allow us to engage fully with life. Thanks for watching. Now go out and play something meaningful.